If I please find a seat, we'll get started. I always feel so bad doing that. It's fun to see people connecting all over the place. I'm sorry to be interrupting conversations. I'm sure they're great ones, and hopefully we can pick them right back up when our first Mondays is done. Well, welcome to the March edition already of the First Monday Speaker Series, our second last one for the year, and a special welcome this morning to many campus visitors from area schools, local producers, those here in partnership for our Ag Summit Day. Welcome to campus. We are glad you're here, and we're glad we're partnering with you on this unique First Monday Speaker Series. Our First Monday speaker this morning is Mr. Malcolm de Kryger. Malcolm is president and part owner of Belstrom Milling Company. And despite being a graduate from Calvin College at Purdue University Graduate School, he has earned a master's degree in animal science. Mr. de Kryger works to decrease the disconnect between the producer and the consumer. Belstrom Milling Company, in connection to Fair Oaks Farms, provides opportunities for consumers to come and see and experience a large-scale pig farm in operation, where guests have the opportunity to perform hands-on sonograms, become a farmer of a litter of piglets, and watch the birthing process. He is a member of the National Pork Producers Animal Health and Food Security Committee. He has served on the Indiana State Department of Agriculture Board and the Dean's Advisory Council at Purdue University. He serves on the board of Partners Worldwide, a Christian nonprofit organization that seeks to help develop small business in underprivileged parts of the world. He and his wife are members of the First Christian Reformed Church of DeMotte, Indiana. Will you please join me in a warm welcome for Mr. Malcolm de Kryger.
Well, good morning again, Northwest Iowa. I was telling the people earlier this morning, you can be from NWI, right? And that stands for Northwest Indiana, correct? No, hold it. No, where am I? That's right. I'm a little far from home. But it's a real privilege to be here with you today. I've known a lot about Dort from a distance for a long time. And like most good Dutchmen, I can play Dutch bingo with the best of them. I have had the privilege of being a Calvin College grad, which I know doesn't mean a lot to a lot of you, but I can also assure you that Calvin could not spell agriculture. It's the one word that they could not spell. And so I had to kind of pick it up from there and go to another university for some more education. But Dort, I just think, is really a great institution for taking on both a Christian and a Reformed and an agricultural combination. And so this is a real privilege for me to be here. Let me get my clicker here. So this morning I wanted to visit for a little bit about the whole idea that I want to show you what I do. And I put in there as a second part of the title that I want to help connect the farmer to the consumer, because the reality is there's no reconnect unless you got up this morning and did chores. How many did that? How many woke up this morning and did chores? Okay, there are a few. Excellent. So I don't have to reconnect with you. You're already there. But for the rest of us, whether we're studying agriculture or whether we are actually have no part of it at all, you need to be connected. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Belstrom Milling Company is located in DeMotte, and that is in the northwest corner of Indiana. There's about 60 miles to downtown Chicago, and it's about 120 miles to Indianapolis. And so we kind of live right on that corridor between the two. And it's big and it's flat. In fact, this is very rolly country. We're not used to that where we live. but there's a lot of agriculture. Belstra Milling has really 4 key components. There's 2 main ones. The first one is that we are a feed company. We are celebrating our 61st year being in the feed business. It was started by Bud Belstra, and today the company is owned by both family members, Tim Belstra, and also by employees like myself. We have a long tradition of feeding pigs. And in the last 15 years, we've gotten very good at feeding dairy cows as well. And so on a daily basis, we'll feed about 150 pigs that are always growing, and we've got about 100,000 cows, both within the Fair Oaks group of people and in northwest Indiana and southern Michigan that we feed. And so get pretty comfortable with those 2 species in particular. The other part of our business is in the pig business, and that's the one that's very near and dear to my heart. Grew up developing a lot of these farms, and today we have 6 production companies, and we produce about 400,000 pigs off from about 14,700 sows. Some of those pigs come to places like Kansas or Ohio and Illinois. Most of them, about 2/3 of them, stay home, and we finish those. And we sell breeding stock throughout much of the United States. And so some of them come all the way to Iowa. Some of them go all the way to Ohio and points farther and south. One of the things that is really one of my favorite things to do is to dream. I'm an addicted dreamer, and I love to dream about how to build new stuff. And once we get going on a dream, and we construct things, and then we maintain things. And there's actually a couple of people here in this crowd who had the dubious honor of being part of our crowd. So Morgan Van Zyl is over here, and she's much prettier now than when she was tearing down insulation and ceilings this past summer. And Ross Hook is around here somewhere, and Ross's family is involved with me in a deep way. And those kids are just examples of what we do when we bring our business family together, and everybody participates in the work. So the maintenance and construction of our farms is a big project. In the last couple of years, we've gotten involved with Fair Oaks from the standpoint of tourism. One of our 6 production units is on the grounds of Fair Oaks Farms, and it is a tourable farm. And we'll get into showing a little bit more about legacy and why we did that and how we did that. So tourism is a thing that I'm learning about all the time. When you get your master's degree in swine nutrition, somehow or another, they just didn't bring up tourism in my classwork. I don't know why I missed out on that, but I should have been listening closer. But I'm learning a lot now, I guarantee you that. And then finally, we are involved now with a group called Clemens Food Group out of Hatfield, Pennsylvania. And we have invested in and are getting ready to build a brand new packing facility in southern Michigan, and we'll be a part of that. And so it's going to be very exciting to be actually bringing our livestock through the food chain and being a part of the marketing of meats and other products. So I've got 3 grown-up children, and all of them have grown up in the farm system. 2 of them are very involved in part-time and on full-time basis, but these are my other children. When you put as much energy as what we put in to farming, livestock in particular, it takes about as much energy as raising a child. And so we have the farms up here, and then the feed mill and stuff like that. That's all very much my near and dear passion. So I want to try to wrap our head around the concept of how do I show you what what we do. Because, you know what, I can tell you all day long, I'm a great guy, and I really take good care of my pigs. And you can go, yeah, whatever, I don't care. You can tell me all day long, but that doesn't mean a thing. So if you're a farmer, and you're going to talk to consumers, and you're going to say, I'm providing you with good stuff, don't you believe me? Well, then you have to think about, well, how are you going to bridge this gap? And that's really, I think, what the conversation is about here this morning. And so we're going to talk about all of those 3 points, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the pig adventure at Fair Oaks Farms, which is our entity at Belster Milling called Legacy Farms. All right, I hope this comes through. Yep, doing pretty good. So in the last, all right, I'm going to push the pointer here, and if the whole thing blows up, we'll have to start from scratch. All right, so this number right here, see this spot right here with a cross? That's 1950. You can see that the people on the farms is kind of going down, and the amount of food and the population is kind of going up. And in about 1950, they both really split apart. And that is a very important point because a lot of people with farm backgrounds said, you know what, my dad is a farmer, and my goodness, that job is awful. I'm going to town, I'm going to college, I'm going to go to Dordt College, I'm going to get a job in teaching, preaching, medicine. Phew, I'm out of here. I'm not coming back to this. And that's what happened in the 50s. It just tailed off. But the amount of people that need to be fed took off. So how do we think that went through, right? Because that is a business model, it's a socio model, and it becomes an economical issue. The reality is that whoever raised your hand this morning, it's not easy work. It is not easy work. It is a very satisfying work, but you have to want to do it because this is not something that you just, maybe I'll give it a try, because you probably won't be very good at it if you just give it a try. So my comments this morning was that farming, if you look at the Merriam-Webster dictionary, vocation is a particular occupation or business or profession. It's a calling, right? I don't know why God called me to farming. Genetically, it probably shouldn't have worked that way. My father is a physician. We grew up in a town called Fremont, Michigan. He's still a doctor there. He's semi-retired. But I should have been a doctor. Or my mom was a teacher. Maybe I should have been a teacher. She was a teacher for her entire career. But my calling from God was that I needed to get into farming. And that's a miraculous thing to me. And it's such a big deal that it really ranks right up there with being called to ministry, being called to missions. That's how high I feel it has to be. And for those who are good at it, I'll bet you find that same passion in them. So let's put a few ground rules down. Agriculture is not always very pretty. Now, I know that the sun always shines here in northwest Iowa, and I know that it's always 12 degrees in the morning, but it's going to get to 35 today, and in the summertime, you get rain every week, 1 inch perfectly, but it only takes about 3 hours to come, and it's really nice and glorious, and nothing can ever go wrong. But in northwest Indiana, it's not quite that way. Agriculture is not always pretty. Oh, so you want to go into medicine? So that's good. Look, I've got that in my system. My daughter's a nurse. My dad's a doctor. And about 6 years ago, I needed to have a new knee put in. How many have ever seen a video of a knee replacement? Ooh! Can you get your head around the idea that they take a saw, they cut the bones off, they clean it up, they put in the new pieces, they whack them in with a hammer, right? That's what happens. Thankfully, I was pretty well asleep. But it's not pretty. But are we going to bash agriculture? Or are we going to bash medicine? Ooh, think about that one. God give us a little slack in agriculture because medicine's not pretty, agriculture's not always pretty. If you have a rainy, sloppy time and your cows are slipping around out in the feedlot, or all of a sudden you get 12 inches of rain and let's say a manure containment facility leaks or runs over the top, those are God events. It's not that we did a bad job. We've got to be on top of it, but agriculture is not always pretty. There's number one. I mentioned this morning, earlier. I think it is imperative that we look at agriculture from a historical perspective. When I was 15 years old and really getting into farming, the things that I did back then, I'm a little embarrassed today. You know, this whole idea of abusing animals. Do you know that I'll admit that I got angry one time when I was loading pigs. I know that may be very, very foreign to anybody who's ever loaded pigs, but I'm on my knees. I did it. I was angry, and I kicked a pig, all right? So God said, well, I'll fix you. I broke my toe. Oh, my stars. So now I'm gimping along, and I'm not saying good words, and I'm still trying to get that pig on the trailer. We're better than that today. Historically, think of where you come with computers, right? So let's say computers were really coming on in the last 30 years. I'm here to tell you that agriculture is every bit as dynamic as what that change in the computer has been. And if you think that your computer is really cool and it's 5 years old, what do you have? An old computer. Well, guess what? For those of us who invest in pig farms, a 5-year-old pig farm is almost getting to be an old pig farm. That's how that technology is just moving so fast. I made the comment to somebody earlier this morning. Professor Biama. I think he was standing in the conversation. I would propose to you that we have made unbelievable strides making things better for a very inconsistent biological entity. And that biological entity can be my beloved pigs, dairy cows, laying hens, broilers, turkeys, beef cattle, sheep, I don't care, even corn and beans. Those biological entities, we have made huge strides with them. And particularly amazing is that you're doing it with extremely variable environmental conditions. You know, look at Northwest Iowa. You're going to have a range of what? Somewhere from 15 to 20 below zero this winter to probably sometime this summer you're going to hit 100 to 105 minimum. Come on, that's a 120 degree range. Moisture-wise, it can be all over the board. Look at what we're dealt with, and we're trying to do these inconsistencies. This is an incredibly dynamic situation. Most people would be really, really intimidated by this. Oh, you like my little fighting pigs? Sometimes they don't always get along so well. I was going to show you some sows, but not knowing who all is in this crowd, I thought I'd better cool my jets a little bit. But sometimes sows, with all those hormones rushing through them, that gets a little bit crazy. This is probably not going to show up as well as I wished. This is Life magazine. So anybody remember Life magazine? Okay, yeah, and there's no kids putting your hands up, but that's okay. Trust me, long time ago, Grandpa and Grandma had it on their stand in the living room, and Life magazine kind of talked about a lot of topics. And this one is from 1953, and they're talking about what is it going to take in 1950 and 1975. How many people are there going to be? And it says that in that 1950, you see the bigger guy over here, 1975, that there would be 200 million people. And that was up from 150. So even Life magazine's going, wow, there's some dynamics going on here. What's it going to look like? And then you got the number of dairy cows, number of pigs. I love this one. They were proposing that they were going to have to go from about 80 million pigs a year to 125 million pigs a year because the population was growing so fast, right? And then one of the other things down here, and I'll jump to a cleaner picture. See the 4 states right here? 5 states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois. They proposed that the population was growing so fast that the United States had to find that much farmland as it was in those 5 states to provide enough food for the Americans that were coming in 25 years. See how people's heads are trying to get around this thing? Here's another one. You can kind of see where this is the past historical perspective. You can see that they had a few pigs and a little bit of corn. And then by 1930, it jumped up. And by 1950, look at the productivity. They were saying then what we are saying today is that technology was going to drive more products. And it's been an amazing thing. Let's talk about the consumers. This is a good one. I would propose to you that food, clothing, and medical devices are not optional. That's not too tough to take, right? But let's think about this a little bit. Does anybody remember about 4 or 5 years ago when there was a thing called Arab Spring? Arab Spring was when Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, let's see, who are the historical people that can help me out here? But there was about 4 or 5 countries in the Middle East where food basically was not available, and the governments fell. And there's an old saying that basically says every government understands that they are 3 to 5 square meals away from revolt. If you don't eat today and you don't eat tomorrow, something's going to change. Food, clothing, and medical devices are not optional. Take that one a second. Here's one. Consumers have absolutely every right to know exactly where their food comes from. Now that's a big one, because if you've got a little problem in your farm and you really don't want to show somebody that problem, well, you better clean house, because they have the right to know. I'm a consumer. You're a consumer. I think we all have the right to know. But what are we going to do about it? Oh, here's one. Knowledge is great, but are you going to get it from University of Google or Wikipedia College, right? Everybody uses the internet today to get their information. But are you really, as a consumer, are you really getting it from somebody who does it? Who's somebody who knows what they're doing? Or are you just going to go online and see what happens with Google, and you just try and figure out what the easy button is? Dangerous for us, because there's no filter on a lot of that stuff. There was a really good research article done by Oklahoma State University, a guy named Jeremy Lusk. And his report came out here about 2 months ago, and it said 82% of consumers support mandatory labeling of food containing GMOs. Oh, now we just threw the grain farmers and everybody else under the bus, right? So 82% want to know that. Look, Vermont has already passed the law. You must put on there if there's any GMOs. That includes BST for Mr. Dykstra. He would have to put that on there because that's part of a GMO. Oh, but hold it. 80% of the consumers also support mandatory labeling of food with DNA. Come on now, there are some biology majors in here, right? Think this one through. DNA, it's in everything, but they want to have it labeled. So what are you going to do? Say, yep, it's got DNA? Well, that's like saying that there's air in the room. I mean, this is our consumer. Now, here's one, and Dick mentioned this here a little while ago. One of the other things about this consumer survey was that it said participants' top concern was having affordable food for themselves and their families. All right? Inequitable food distribution and profitability of a farmer, that's the lowest concern that they have. So, they don't care. They don't care if me as a farmer or you as a farmer can make it. And I'll never talk about money because money and food, if it's your food, that's very sensitive. But the reality is that the highest priority for all these people surveyed was that it was all about them. So then my problem is, who's concerned about the 15 to 18% hunger-challenged people in Sioux County? I'm going to Kenya here in 2 weeks with Partners Worldwide, which I've been doing now for the last 3 years. So I'm working with them to figure out how to take care of some of their food issues, and Ghana and Liberia as well. But the reality is that the public doesn't care. And one of the things that I'll say is probably a little controversial is the president of Elanco, which is a huge animal health company, says, look, by 2050, there's going to be 9 billion people. Anybody heard that number? Oh, it's all over the place. And the reality is that the consumer says, I don't care about anybody but me. Now, here at Dordt College, should we have a little different depth? I think we should. But the reality is that people around the world don't care. It's all about me. Who's that, Dr. Phil? I don't know. I don't watch it. So let's talk about consumers a little bit more. Who likes change? If you go to Mickey D's, and I know that that's an evil thing in many people's eyes, but if you like a Daily Double or if you like a Big Mac, if it's not the same here in Sioux Center as it is in DeMotte, does that bother you? Well, no, you like consistency, right? Consumers want consistency. So if you have, Mr. Dykstra said something about a farmer who said, well, I wish you had 100 cows, not 3,000 cows. Do you think the consistency from Dykstra's dairy is more consistent on 3,000 or on 100? What if there are 30 times 100? Do you think there's consistency amongst those? Pretty tough. But the consumers want consistency. How do we handle that? And here's the irony. The people and the animals, they like consistency. My pigs want the same food every day. They don't want a gyration of whatever happens to be thrown in front of them. It's my job to make sure that they're getting fed a consistent thing. So how do we bridge this gap? A couple of quick thoughts, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about one of my farms, because I'm going to be running fast. Follow the money. Beware of ulterior motives of activist groups. There's a very well-published report that the Humane Society of the U.S. raises hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Less than 10% goes to take care of animals. The rest is for people and for liability suits and for government influence. Follow the money. Here's another one. Marketing and media. Just in the last month, Chipotle said that there was a supplier of pigs that didn't meet their standards. So now there is a shortage of pork in the world. Are you kidding me? We're looking at futures prices and productivity that says that we probably are going to end up with way too many pigs in the United States in 2015. Teasing the story. I'm not calling them liars, but it takes it right to the edge of what the reality really should be. Oh, here's one. I've been in Liberia the last 2 years. Do you know how many people in Liberia are blogging about their food source? None. If you're hungry, you're not blogging about whether it's this or that. You just want it. You just want it. I think we need to be very careful about the elitism that we bring to the table, right? How many of you ever have seen the Latinos have a great fiesta? You know what they do? They go over to Ross Hook's farm and they pick out a chiva, a goat. They walk it out the door, slit the throat, hang it upside down, cut the gut, drop out the guts, throw it in the back of the pickup truck, run home, put it on the spit, and now it's a fiesta. Are you telling me that the Latino community is all wrong and that they are lesser people because of how they do things? I don't think so. I think we got to be very careful. So how do we break down this conspiracy theory about how I, as a large producer, am a bad guy and I'm showing you only what I want you to see? How do we do that? How do we reach out and try and bridge this gap? At Belster Milling and Fair Oaks Farms, we believe it is better to show than to tell. I can tell you all day long I'm just the bomb when it comes to raising pigs, but it doesn't mean a thing unless I show you. So let's make sure that as farmers, first of all, we are willing to show anytime, any way, any place what's going on. Then we can take it to the next level. Here we go.
70 miles southeast of Chicago and in the heart of the Midwest lies Fair Oaks Farms, comprising of over 30,000 acres, the majority of which is contiguous. Fair Oaks Farms is one of the world's most efficient and progressive large dairies. Established in 1999, Fair Oaks Farms consists of 10 integrated, self-sufficient dairy units, milking a total of 30,000 cows. The majority of the property straddles U.S. Interstate 65, that is a major thoroughfare from Chicago to the Gulf of Mexico. At Fair Oaks Farms, we take great pride in our accomplishments and want to share them with the world. In 2004, we opened our doors to the public, and with a 200-acre campus under a master plan, now host 500,000 visitors a year. Our visitors walk away from the farm understanding that modern dairy farming is humane to its animals, responsible to the environment, and produces one of the safest and most nutritious foods. From quality milk to innovation to strategic alliances and true sustainability, Fair Oaks Farms is a unique dairy operation that will continue to lead modern dairy agriculture today and well into the future.
All right. 4 years ago, we were given an invitation by Mike McCloskey and his group. They wanted to add species to Fair Oaks Farms. The invitation was that they would provide land or space. They would provide a tour company, and they wanted to receive the manure from our pig farm for the dairy digester. The methane digester actually works better with a combination of dairy farms manure and pig manure. Stipulations were a couple. They wanted it to be relevant. They wanted it to be big enough. This is not a petting zoo. Legacy Farms is 2,800 sows producing 80,000 pigs a year, weaned pigs. And they wanted us to be willing and able to address current industry issues. And then thirdly, Fair Oaks Farms didn't want to own a pig farm. That was our problem. And that was okay, because Belster Milling was ready to move forward on another project. A few people in here who are affiliated with us know that about every 3 years I kind of get an itch. And, well, I'll tell you what, once you get an itch, you just got to scratch it. So we were ready to go. So our challenge was we needed to address consumers of all ages. So everything from, are you smarter than a fifth grader, to the elderly farmer who looks at what we're doing and either gives affirmation or criticism. We had to take care of it all. We also wanted to work with industry stakeholders to create a valid message. And so a lot of industry stakeholders from around the globe have been a part of the tour company. And then we wanted to show as much as possible. We've done great things. To raise pigs, it's 5 things. It's facilities, genetics, nutrition, health, and labor. That takes those 5. I would give that speech in Africa, and they get it just as well as here in Indiana or Iowa. We've made great strides, but we needed to be able to show people the next part. We wanted to build a one-of-a-kind operation, and I really think that Legacy Farms is still a one-of-a-kind in the world. We focused on animal care and safety with no production interference from people and no challenge from a health standpoint. I know that Sioux County pig farmers never have any diseases, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't have any diseases that come from people in our farms. And then I had to make an open free-span building, which you don't normally do in a pig farm. That's my daughter, who is a part-time employee for us, and my grandson. So when it comes to the legacy, I really believe that this historical part of who we are is something that cannot be forgotten. So this is the gestation barn. We are using electronic sow feeding stations and big pen sow housing. We're not saying this is the way to go. We're saying that we are technology driven and we're curious about what the next things would be. And we do breed in stalls because it's much, much easier and more efficient that way. This is the view from up above looking down, and I'll show you some more video of that here in a second. Sow with a nice little litter on her. This is Lakin getting really up close and personal with the backside of a sow. We're very, very assertive about making sure a good life is not wasted, so we go in and get our pigs out very timely. This is from up above in the farrowing house. It's basically in a skybox. All the production has got a glass and closed upper level. So it's like if you look at the balcony up there and it was all glass and closed, and you look down on us, that's what it looks a little bit like there at the farm. This is the history wall. Like I said, I believe that it's really important to be able to judge where we're at today, but only if you know where we came from. Mention was made of doing ultrasound on a pretend ultrasound on a sow. This is kind of a technology little whiz. There's 27 receptors inside of that sow, and if you find them all, it'll give you an ultrasound printout that shows you how many baby pigs you found. And there are some of the ladies that were part of the startup, and one was an intern on the left, and the other 2 are employees and very much leadership in the production. This is a video put on that my son and the Fair Oaks people did. I'll show you two of them.
Hello, welcome to the Fair Oaks Pig Adventure. I'm Nick Kryger, a production assistant at Belcher Milling Company and Legacy Farms. Over the next few months, we're going to be running a small series that we like to call As Seen from the Mezzanine. This small series is a way for us to showcase some of the technology and the production equipment we use inside the farm. Today, we're going to be highlighting the breeding stall and farrowing stalls and how we use them in our production cycle. To give you a little background, the stalls were first introduced to farmers and became widely popular back in the 1960s. They were primarily used as a way for protection against other aggressive sows, but it also helped the farmer give the animal more care and more attention as they were individually housed. To give you a little more detail and to kind of walk through how we use them, I've invited Christina Beechler, who works inside the farms and is a graduate in animal behavior, to help me out. Christina?
Hi, my name is Christina Beechler and I'm a farrowing technician here at Legacy Farms. I'm a recent Purdue graduate with my bachelor's in animal science focusing on animal behavior and well-being. One key element of ensuring an animal's well-being is how they are housed. One of the ways that we house our animals here at the farm is in individual gestation stalls. These stalls are a very important part of how we care for our animals. During breeding, they're a safe environment for the sows to be bred, where competing sows will not be able to jostle them or the boar jostle them. It's also a good way to monitor an animal's feed intake as we individually hand feed all of these sows.
Now we're over here in the farrowing house, where Christina will also help introduce the farrowing stalls and how we use them here.
In the farrowing house, individual sow housing can become very, very important for both the sow and the piglet's welfare. Here in our farrowing stalls, we have what's called zone cooling. As you can see, there are white tubes leading to each individual sow stall. This allows the sow to stay at the temperature that she is comfortable at. While at the same time, at the edge of the stalls, we have heat lamps and heating pads to help keep the piglets cool. Being inside the farrowing stalls can also help protect the piglet's safety. We have what are called piglet protection bars at the sides and rear of each stall. This helps the mother lay down gracefully and stand up carefully so that she does not accidentally injure any of her piglets. As always, there is always free access to water and food at all times. Farrowing can be a difficult time for the sow, so having her and her piglets together in an individual stall can help us better assist her during the farrowing process and monitor her and the piglet's health throughout lactation. Overall, individual sow housing can be a very great tool for the farmers and can greatly increase and ensure a sow and her piglet's welfare.
For me with one more.
Hello, and welcome to the Fair Oaks Pig Adventure. I'm Nick Kryger with Belcher Milling Company and Legacy Farms. On this episode of As Seen from the Mezzanine, we're going to be looking at the electronic sow feeding system, or as we here like to call, the ESF. Though relatively new to the industry, the ESF is becoming widely popular as an alternative method for feeding our gestating sows. It's a little unique in that it utilizes group pen gestation instead of the breeding stalls. And so with the group pen gestation, it's able to feed numerous pigs with only one feeder. And so the way it works is that each gestating sow has an RFID tag or radio frequency ID tag in its ear, and then as it walks into the ESF, the computers read that ID tag and know how much to feed the sow throughout its gestating period. To help me talk a little bit more about this, I've invited Lindsay Standarski, who works here at Legacy Farms as our breeding service tech, to help me talk about them. Lindsay?
Sows will enter the ESF through these back doors. The doors will close behind her when she passes under a sensor, which is located under this hood. Once inside, her transponder is picked up by a scanner, which tells the computer how much feed she gets dropped. The feed is dropped from these bins, which fill up from the augers that run on a regular interval throughout the day. There's a bowl that will flip out where the feed will drop into. The sow will eat her feed and then will be given what we call stay time, which allows her to finish her ration and then leave whenever she feels like it. Sows will exit through a door on the other side and then are free to go about their day. Each sow has a transponder located in her right ear, which tells the computer how much food she is supposed to be given every day.
We get thousands of people to come through and see this. This is our means of trying to reach out to the consumer. As you can see, there's a lot to learn. In fact, most people who come through can't soak it all in one day, and they end up needing to come back. There's a long list of different groups that have been there and are coming back, and obviously our government loves it because it makes a big difference. What are the reactions? Wow, I had no idea. Here's a good one. Is that a pig? Really? Are the pigs genetically modified? Just for the record, no. There is no GMO in pigs. I like the next one. They're so cute. The next one, can I take it home? No. No, you can't. And then they look at the farrowing crate. So, in wrapping up, you know, if you can't tell, I'm pretty passionate about my pigs and my feed company. It is, other than my family and my faith, it is my calling card. I've got a lot of amazing people that are taking care of amazing pigs, and they have an amazing purpose. So with that, I want to thank you for inviting me out here to Dordt College. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to meet with you. But I know that you've got some tight time frames, so thanks for your patience.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Kryger, for offering your interesting points on such an important topic. Also, thank you for everyone else for coming out. Thank you especially to all the community members. Please join us again next month on April 6th for the next month's First Monday Speaker Series. We will be hearing from Dr. Christina Cleveland. She is a social psychologist and also professor at Bethel University. She has researched processes that affect relationships within groups and helps leaders understand how to promote an appreciation for diversity in building effective and collaborative groups. Thanks again for coming, and have a great day.